Yo. More than 7 years ago, I started learning Japanese. Thanks to that, I figured out that I wanted to move to Japan because I had been improving a lot in my Japanese, and I just wanted to experience new culture and just live a different life than I had been living up to that point. I'm about to give you advice that changed my life. If you want it to, it can change yours too. First, stop and ask yourself one very important question. Why do I want to learn Japanese? Maybe it's for work, maybe it's for a promotion, maybe you just like anime or whatever otaku culture you might be into, or maybe you're like me as well and you like video games like from Japan and you just want to play them in that language. Maybe even something like your partner is from Japan. There's no right answer here. Whatever your reason is, just don't let people tell you it's stupid, because I wanted to just watch anime in Japanese. I wanted to play video games in Japanese and just experience the original language. And even if I wasn't able to do that anytime soon, I still had a lot of fun studying. It was something that like gave my brain something to do, because I really was bored with college. I didn't really like what I was doing. In fact, I'd honestly bet that people are doing it for like a reason like kind of like mine, like more fun, are probably more likely to succeed than someone maybe doing it for like work related reasons and money, because it's a long journey and it's going to take a while before that pays off. Got your answer? Cool. Let it be your guiding light, because it's going to be a long journey. Such a long journey. There's a billion ways to learn Japanese depending on your goal. If you don't want a headache, you're going to want something that teaches you how people speak actually in real life and not like a textbook. That's a whole nother video. But in short, you basically want audio that isn't slowed down for listeners, because no one's going to slow down for you here. And that's where it's going to be really hard. So it's easier to have more difficulty in the study environment, and then when you go outside, it's easy, rather than it's really easy in the study environment, and then you go outside and you don't know what the hell's going on. So you want something that doesn't slow down for learners. You want something that uses natural words that people actually use. And you want something that can get you your grammar points. And grammar points are important because you don't know grammar that you don't know. In other words, if I have a piece of vocab and I don't know what that word means, it's really obvious to me. I don't know what the word means. But sometimes I can know every word in a Japanese sentence. I just don't know what the hell it means, which is why grammar is so important. So how do you learn grammar? Well, you could use a textbook. You could Google and find some random grammar deck on Anki, or you could just click a button that says study now. That's what Native Shark is, and it's what I've been using since I've started. I used the old version when I first started learning. I still use Native Shark in my studies every day. Here's the streak to prove it. It's not free, but I also spent money on learning Japanese. I think like the day I started. It was really important to me, so I didn't mind spending the money. You can totally find something that's free. It might be a bit more of a headache. You can find something that's way more expensive as well, like thousands of dollars in a college class that will still leave you barely progressing. And also like textbooks versus college classes versus whatever other study methods. We can talk about that a lot in another video, so let me know if you're interested in hearing about that. But I am affiliated with Native Shark, so if you want to get an extra week on your free trial, and you want to help support my channel, which thank you, I can make more videos like this. Links in the little doobly-doo under the video thing there. If you have a question about it, or while you're using it, or like you just want to see some feedback about it, there's a Discord community that Native Shark has. I'm actually in there as Ty. Go ahead, ask me some questions in there, or join my personal community, ask me questions there as well. But if you want student feedback about it, check out the Discord. Got your study method figured out? Next piece of advice: calm down. You don't need to Google every tiny bit of language you don't understand. One of the most important things about learning Japanese is the wider range of knowledge you have, the easier it is to go deeper into a specific point. So what you want to do is just learn as much as you can, and maybe you don't understand everything perfectly. That's okay. But once you understand the language as a whole more, it'll be easier. Like things will make sense as you come back to them. And that's why Native Shark's nice, because you can get a lot of exposure to lots of different contexts. And there's always like repetitions of words and new contexts, which is huge because as an English speaker, learning Japanese, you just don't know how to say something if you haven't heard someone say it before. That's just how it is. Sorry. And just as importantly, have fun. Do what I did. Play some video games, read some manga, watch some anime. You're not going to understand everything. That's okay. You can treat it like maybe 20 minutes or even 10 minutes. You're studying, you're looking up as many words as possible, and you're learning. And then if it's a video game like Pokemon or something, which I have another video about, go check it out. I'll link that in the description too, what games to play when you're learning. But if it's like Pokemon, you look up as many words as you can, and then once you get like tired and bored of that, stop doing that and just play. And then you still get exposure to like words you already know, and then you maybe, depending on where you are in your studies, you can start to like kind of learn words from context. But either way, it's super fun to just chill. and see how like a game or a piece of media you love looks in that other language. And if it's too much, stop and come back to it later. It's really great to see your progress. Like if you quit Pokemon because it's too hard, you come back like 3-6 months later and you're like, oh, that's so easy now, or at least a lot easier. Really great way to measure your progress, because remember, long term is what we're aiming for. Don't give up. My next piece of advice: become the person who studies Japanese every day. You're not going to have an argument with yourself if you're going to study today. If you are the person who studies Japanese every day, of course you're going to study today. How do you do that? Habit tagging. When I first started studying Japanese, I used habit tagging. What that means is I decided to study every day, and I tagged my study time onto something I did every day. Something I did every day at the time was press the power button on my computer. So I press the power button on my computer, I study an hour. No exceptions. I think maybe once or twice there were some exceptions, or like I studied on my phone some days, but make that rule and try not to break it, because the longer you follow that rule, the easier it is to keep following that rule. First, maybe a few weeks might be a little tough, but if you can manage with your life, I didn't have kids at the time or whatever. It's probably easier for me, a college student, than maybe someone with a bunch of kids. So do what you can for yourself. But the important thing is do it as much as you possibly can as well. One more important thing, remember, you're human. It's okay. There's going to be some days. Your best can't look the same every day. So some days you're going to be really great. Some days you're going to get through 5 reviews. Don't worry, as long as you did something. I had plenty of days where I was just spamming through reviews just to get through it and just to do something to keep the habit going. So don't worry. I have one more important thing. If you miss a day of your studies, it's really good to not do double studies the next day. Don't do that. That is the key to burnout, because if you have 0 studies and then you got to do double the next day, and maybe you were stressed from the previous day, you're just going to skip that day, and then you're going to go to the next day, and you're going to skip that day, you're going to go to the next day, and then suddenly it's been 3 months you haven't studied at all. Don't do that. Just, if you have to skip some days, just go right back onto your normal schedule. Don't worry about it. It's going to be way less stressful. And that's the important thing, is don't be stressed. Don't let this stress you. It's a fun experience. It really is. You get to speak to like all these new people you've never been able to interact with before and experience all these things, games, and I've made friendships that it's life-changing. How awesome learning Japanese has been for me. And I really hope that, you get to experience that too. So good luck, and just leave a comment, join my community, join the Native Shark community, find a group of people that just are there for you, because for me, I didn't have many people supporting me when I was learning Japanese. So having an internet group was fantastic. It's not really possible for me to include 7 years of Japanese study advice into this one video, and I have no idea how long it's going to be. So that's kind of the essentials. There's going to be more videos. If you have questions, or like there's a certain topic you want me to talk about, let me know. For sure. I will probably make a video on it. 今日のタイズティップ. I just made that up. Is that good? Maybe it's bad. I don't know. When you start learning Japanese, you're going to hear something like this. 日本語上手ですね. This means you're really good at Japanese. It's often used in response to when you say something like really simple, like ありがとうございます, or like こんにちは, so like thank you or hello. And sometimes you're going to feel like they don't mean it. Like, really? Come on. I said hello and you're going to say I'm really good at Japanese. You didn't hear anything else. And, sometimes maybe they do mean it. Maybe they don't. Who knows? But what I think is the most important is to remember the core of why they're saying it. They want to encourage you. They're really happy that you took the time to learn this language that like almost nobody bothers learning, especially when they come here as a tourist. And they want to thank you somehow. And maybe that's the way they do it. But either way, there's a lot of advice on the internet on how to respond and what to say and what's the perfect Japanese way to respond, where you got to say something like とんでもないです, which is like, oh no, I'm not possibly good at Japanese. And yeah, it's a nice formal way to respond and you could use it. And then they're probably going to be like, oh no, you're even better at Japanese now. But I think if they're being sincere, you can be sincere too and just say ありがとうございます. Or そちらこそ上手ですね. Alright, thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more tips or whatever, let me know in the comments of what you'd like to see, or if you have any questions on today's video. And if you want to go say hi to me, I have socials and whatever links and blah blah blah, and go sign up for Native Shark if you want to. I think it's a really good idea. じゃあねー!